the most difficult and challenging I have ever done. And I took many radiographs to remove the instrument because I need to place my ultrasonic tip into the space on the inner wall, because I have to push the instrument from the inner wall to get it out. So that's how I remove the instrument.
Wow.
You know, the broken file removal is always difficult and challenging, but I like a challenge. So it's the most difficult case, but I enjoyed it.
Wow, so that's master, I think. So enjoy the difficult cases. So when did you start to focus on the broken file removal?
That was in 1998. My boss at university told me to remove this instrument, Yoshi, okay. And he told me to use ultrasonics, and I activated ultrasonics on the instrument, and the next second I pushed the instrument, you know, out of the apical foramen. It was in the bone, and I felt terrible, and I made a big mistake, and the patient was so upset. So that's the time I started being interested in broken file removal, because I made a terrible mistake. I never forget. So you need to make a terrible mistake to get yourself interested in something.
Yeah, so that's learn to be successful from the loss, right?
Yes, exactly, because you can learn many things from your mistakes. So you must make a mistake to improve your skills.
Okay, that's really inspired. I think it will be very inspiring for all the others who would like to be like you. And so as for, we are talking about endodontics, we would like to know how do you see the future regarding endodontic practice?
Because, you know, patient comes to your office with pain, and endodontic treatment never disappears, but the treatment quality will be improved, you know, in future. And because if you use MTA instead of gutta percha and the sealer, you can seal the canal almost perfectly, because there will be no coronal leakage. So I think the future of endodontics will be much better than now today.
Okay, yes, because the people's awareness of oral health is increasing every day. So I think it will be a very large space for endodontists and also dentists to have their to show their talents on that.
Yes. Maybe so, in future, maybe 10 years from now, there will be no implants. I'm sorry, but you know, by accident, if you have a car accident or some kind of accident, and if you broke the tooth, there's no choice. But implant will never disappear, as well as endodontics.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I think everybody now on the live are waiting for your lecture. We just leave time for them. And thank you very much for starting our interview, and enjoy your lecture, Dr. Taguchi. See you
Thank
later.
You very much. See you later.
See you.
Okay, let me start my lecture. The title of my presentation is root canal preparation for MTA obturation. Because I stopped using gutta percha and the sealer, because I started to doubt the quality of the sealing ability of gutta percha and the sealer. Then I started using MTA. And the preparation for the MTA obturation is different. So that's why I like to talk about root canal preparation for MTA obturation. So let me start. So this is a topic outline. I will start with the targets for successful instrumentation. Then I will talk about the difference in preparation for MTA obturation versus gutta percha and the sealer. Then I will talk about the selection of instrument for safe instrumentation. Then I will talk about instrument techniques. And also, if I have time, I'd like to show some cases from my practice. So actually, what are the targets for successful instrumentation? First of all, root canal preparation includes negotiation, glide path creation, shaping, and cleaning. So what can the target be for root canal preparation? So you have to know the objectives of root canal preparation. In preparation, you have to remove necrotic, inflamed pulp tissues and dentin infection from the root canal to facilitate root canal preparation. So you have to always look at obturation, how you obturate the canal before you start cleaning and shaping the canal. So negotiation means you have to reach the canal terminus with a file. And after that, you need to create a glide path to create a pathway for shaping files and also irrigants. Then you have to start cleaning and shaping to remove intracanal infection. So this is, very important when you do the root canal preparation. So this is a famous study done by Ray and Trop, 1995. So if you look at the success rate, if you do just a good endo without restoration, or if you place a poor quality of the restoration on the tooth, your success rate is only 44.1%. Even if you did a good endodontic treatment, your success rate is only below 50% because of the poor restoration. But even if you didn't do a good job in endodontic treatment, but if you have a good restoration on the tooth, your success rate is almost 70%. So this means restoration quality affects the prognosis of endodontic treatment. So why is that? Because what are you missing to be successful in endodontic treatment? But if you look at this one, if you do a good endo and good restoration, your success rate is not 100%. It's still 91.4%. Actually, 8.6% failed regardless of good endodontic treatment and good restorations. Why is this? So let me show you why this is happening. Rikuchi actually did a good study on this. 39 obturated root canals that had been exposed to the oral environment for more than 3 years. And he extracted those teeth and examined. And he found bacteria found extensively in the canal entrance and the coronal-dentinal tubules, but were absent from the dentin in the dentin in the middle third to the apical 1/3. So this means he found, bacteria in the dentinal tubules in the coronal 1/3, not in the middle 1/3, not in the apical 1/3. He found bacteria in the dentinal tubules in the coronal 1/3. No bacteria in dentinal tubules in the apical 1/3 and in the middle 1/3. So your target to remove infected dentin is the coronal dentin, not apical dentin. So you have to focus on the coronal dentin to remove infection. What about this one? You see the root fillings here, from here to here, and it was extruded, but you see a big region on the root. Why is this? I can see no defect. I can see no spaces around the root fillings, but you can see a big region, apical region on the root. Why is that? So, So I look at the tooth and I examined here. I found a reason. Look at this space next to the garrapacha and the sealer. What is this? This is absolutely necrotic pulp tissues remaining in the root canal next to the garrapacha and the sealer. Okay, and also 25% of the canal, the canals 1 to 5 millimeter coronal to the apical foramen are oval. So this means, you have to do something to remove the necrotic pulp tissues that you cannot remove with your instrument. This is very important. Also, one showed on the surface of the apically extruded Garapacha points, biofilms were found containing bacteria and endotoxin. So biofilms can form on Garapacha and the ciliars, and as well as necrotic pulp tissues. So this is your next target, besides the dentin in the coronal 1/3. So especially in retreatment, you need remove Garapacha and the cilia completely to be successful in retreatment. And do not extrude Garapacha because bacteria will go there and start proliferating on Garapacha and the cilia. And the Rikuchi again showed Garapacha doesn't bond to dentin, and Garapacha actually allow bacterial leakage, unlike MTA. You see the spaces around the Garapacha. So this is why you have coronal leakage between the Garapacha and the dentin wall. Okay, so this is very important. So this is why I stopped using Garapacha and the cilia. And they showed actually area in the apical 1/3 of the canal is 3 times larger than that in the coronal 1/3. So you have more spaces in the coronal, in the apical 1/3 than the coronal 1/3. So you have to take more time to clean the canals in the apical 1/3 compared to the coronal 1/3. So the area that is not touched by standard conventional nickel titanium instrument is about 70% of the entire area in the canal due to the space being oval rather than round. So you have to be careful. That's why you need to take a CBCT to examine the canal space. If it's round, no problem. But if it's oval, you may have a problem. So you have to be careful about the shape of the root canal. 90% of endodontic refractory cases have biofilm surviving retreatment in the hard to reach area in the apical 1/3 because of the canal being oval. And you need to remove the necrotic pulp tissue from the space that you cannot touch with your instrument. So actually, there's no bacteria in the apical dentin, but you do have bacteria in the canal space, like an isthmus or the space that you cannot touch with your instrument. So this is your target again. So actually, this is what you have to see in endodontic treatment when you do a root canal preparation. First, bacteria in the coronal dentin, and also biofilms in the canal, apical canals, because you have necrotic pulp tissues, also debris in the apical 1/3. And also you have to see the isthmus or an oval canal that will have biofilms or necrotic pulp tissue that must be removed in preparation. So these are your targets when you do root canal preparations. So now let's move on to the differences in preparation for MTA obturation versus Garapacha and the cilia. Oh, sorry. So first of all, I'd like to compare the properties of Garapacha and also MTA. So if you look at the Garapacha shrinks, about 7%. And Garapacha is dependent on the sealing ability of the coronal restoration to be successful in treatment. And the Garapacha is susceptible to bacteria ingress. And bacteria will grow on Garapacha. And it's vulnerable to root fracture because it doesn't reinforce the tooth structure. And there's no bonding between dentin and Garapacha. But Garbature is very, very easy to remove. If something is easy to remove, it doesn't bond to something. But if you look at the MTA, it's completely opposite. MTA has setting expansion, and as you know, you have the space, interfacial space between the dentin and MTA, and which consists of hydroxyapatite layer. And MTA is bactericidal, so it kills the bacteria surviving the retreatment. But Garbature doesn't kill bacteria. And it will increase fracture resistance over time. MTA is completely and highly biocompatible. MTA promotes cementogenesis, osteogenesis, and PDL reformations. So it's actually bioactive. The MTA also sustains alkaline pH for a longer period. MTA has superior bonding strength. It's difficult to remove. That means there's bonding between MTA and dentin. It's expensive, still expensive, but the cost of MTA is getting lower and lower. So, you know, in the next few years, MTA can be very, very cheap. And so everybody can use it. So if you look at the preparation for MTA root fillings or Garbature root fillings, so let's look at the preparation for Garbature root fillings first. You need to have taper because of the resistance by vertical compaction. So you must have at least 0.6%, I'm sorry, you must have at least 6% taper preparation for vertical compaction. Working length must be accurate. Otherwise, you can easily extrude Garbature, which can lead to a failure. You need to have more instrumentation time because you have to use, you know, several instruments, more than 3 or 4, you know, on average. And you may have more incidence of ledge formation because of what you use, you know, the instrument with a greater taper. And you may have more incidence of vertical root fracture because of the tapered preparation. And you will sacrifice more dentin. And you can be more aggressive in preparation. But if you look at the preparation for MTA root fillings, you can be minimally invasive if you plan to fill the canal with MTA, because you don't need taper preparation. So you can just use less tapered preparation, maybe 4% taper. Working length can be a little shorter or longer, but it's safer to be longer because MTA is biocompatible. It doesn't matter if you extrude MTA. And I have many cases. I have more successful cases with a longer working length. And natural canal shape is maintained because you can use less tapered instrument for MTA obturation. And you can have less instrumentation time because you use only a few instruments to complete the preparation, because you don't need a tapered preparation. And you will have less incidence of ledge formation around the curve. So, and also you will have less incidence of instrument fracture. So this is good, great news. And you will have less incidence of vertical root fracture. This is also good. And you can be more minimally invasive in preparation because of the instrument you use. So now let's look at how you shape the canal, how you clean and shape the canal. So you will start with the negotiation. So in negotiation, you may want to use small K file, like a 08, 10, and 15 for glide path creation. And you can use shaping instrument with a lot of flexibilities, usually nickel titanium instrument, and then you can overlay the canals. But remember, there are variety of apical anatomical forms. There are 6 kinds of anatomical forms. So first, this is very famous, the most famous, that the tooth has only a single constrictor, apical constrictor, 18%. But if you look at the other ones, like if you may have tapering apical anatomical forms, like this, 15%. You may have flaring apical forms, 18%. There's no apical constrictor here because of the tapering. And you may have multi-constricted forms here. So you have several constricted, constrictors here and here. And you may have apical delta ramifications. So there is no apical constrictor in this kind of case. You have parallel apical forms. So there is no apical constrictor in this kind of case. So again, you have only 18% of the cases with a single apical constrictor. So because of this, you need to create an artificial apical constrictor with your instrument. So first of all, where is the working length? Where is the apical constrictor? You have to, if there's no apical constrictor, you have to create one. So first of all, you have to define the working length. So where is the working length? So if you look at this image here, so here usually 18% of the cases have a single apical constrictor like this one. But, and and also apical, apex locator detect the apical foramen and the apical constrictor. So this is actually easy to find, easy to locate. But sometimes in other cases, like 80% of the cases have no apical constrictor. So actually the major apical diameter can be the smallest, can be the narrowest in the canal. So you can set the major apical diameter as the apical constrictor. So actually, in the majority of the cases, I usually set my working length at major apical diameter, which corresponds to the apical constrictor. So actually, the major apical diameter can be the narrowest as the apical constrictor when there is no apical constrictor. So this is my apical constrictor. This is my working length. So then there are several techniques, preparation techniques, step back preparation techniques. I think everybody knows this. So, so let me explain just a little bit of this. So you can just do the negotiation and glide path. Then you can use, you can create apical step here with K files. And every step you withdraw 0.5 millimeter and use a bigger instrument. So actually you are creating steps here and here and here. Then you can put bioceramic sealers or MTA sealers and place a Garapacha cone here. That's it. This is it. But I don't like Garapacha here because you can compromise the sealing ability of the canal with a Garapacha and the sealer, because Garapacha does not bond to dentin, Garapacha does not bond to MTA. So that's why it's not necessary to place a Garapacha cone here. And this is a step back. So you have to negotiate the canal, you create apical patency, then you can do the glide path creation with 10, 15, or maybe 20. Then every half millimeters, you use a bigger instrument. So actually you are creating steps, you are creating a ledge on the outer wall. So this is not very good. Sometimes if you have a crazy curvature, it's very difficult to place your Garapacha cone to the working length or the apical seat. But if you look at the crown down preparation technique for continuous wave of condensation technique, this is very nice. And you do the negotiation, glide path, then you can use a shaping file. Usually you flare the canal from crown to the apex. So actually you start enlarging the canal in the coronal 1/3, then in the middle 1/3, then in the apical 1/3. So then you measure the apical diameter, you pick up the Garapacha that matches the apical diameter, and you put sealer in the canal, place the Garapacha, and condense the Garapacha with a heated plugger. And this is how you obturate the canals with a continuous wave of condensation technique. And actually, everybody knows this. This is very famous. And so that's why you need a tapered preparation. But when it comes to MT obturation, as I told you, you don't need tapered preparation. Okay, there's no audience I can see, so I hope I'm making myself understood. If not, raise your hands so I can answer your questions. But there's no hands. So so this is very good. This is what I do actually. I start with the negotiation, and I reach the apical framing. I measure the length, then I create a glide path for the shaping instrument. Then I use martensitic phased nickel titanium instrument so that I don't have to enlarge the canal. Even when I'm in a crazy curvature, this instrument will not break. Then basically, because of the flexibility of the instrument that I use, this is not actually completely crown down preparation, because the instrument can go to the working length immediately in a few seconds. Then the next bigger instrument will enlarge the canal at the same time along the wall. Then I pick up an instrument one size or sometimes two sizes smaller than the final instrument that you used for preparation. Then I mix MTA with water. Then I put it in the canal. I push MTA with the instrument that I picked up, one size or two sizes smaller than the apical preparation size. Then I'm connected to an apex locator, so I know where I am. I extrude MTA. I reach the working length and extrude MTA. I want to extrude MTA to make sure there is no space completely empty. So I want MTA in everything. I don't want to leave any defect in the root canal. So I push MTA real hard. I sometimes rotate the file counterclockwise. Then, as you see, MTA accumulated in the canal. Then I put more MTA in the canal. I use a bigger instrument, push more until I see the MTA around the orifice. But if you are planning to place a post, you have to, you have to leave the post space empty. So this is how you prepare the canal for MTA obturation. So actually, canal is widened consecutively along the wall at the same time with a larger nickel titanium instrument because of the higher flexibility of the instrument, like this. So this is a 2004 tapered instrument. And if you use 2504 instrument, as you can see, the canal from the coronal to the apical is widened at the same time. And if you use the number 35 04 tapered instrument, you see the same thing. The canal is widened along the canal wall at the same time. So that's why it takes less time, and you don't need a bigger taper for MTA obturation. So you can be minimally invasive in preparation. So let's talk about the selection of instruments for safe instrumentation. So which instrument is good for MTA obturation? First of all, you have to explore the orifice. You have to find the canal before you start instrumenting the canal. I usually use the micro instrument, micro opener, micro, what is this, MCK files, because you can use them under the microscope and you don't have to rotate the file. You can just stick the instrument in the canal, use an up and down motion to create a space or create a pathway to the canal space. So this is very good, especially when you are under the microscope. So you can be minimally invasive because you can see what you are doing. And which instrument is good to reach the apical foramen, to negotiate the canal. If you look at the size of the apical diameter, the smallest one in here is 0.13 millimeters from buccal to lingual. If you look at the space from the medial to distal, this study shows 0.13 millimeters in diameter. So the smallest one is actually 0.13 millimeters in diameter. So if you use a number 15K file to negotiate the canal, you may have a problem because the smallest diameter of the canal is 0.13 millimeters. So if you use number 10 or number 08 K file to reach the apical foramen, you can easily do that because the number 10 or number 8 K file is smaller than the apical diameter. So here, you can start negotiating the canal with a small K file, or 8 or 10, even in this canal. You see the crazy curvature right here. So you place, first of all, you pre-curve the tip, place it into the canal, and you do the up and down motion. Do not rotate the file because you will deform the instrument. 08 has small diameter. You can easily, unwind the instrument. Then you go up to the number 15K file to create a glide path for the shaping file. So if you start with a number 15K file for negotiation, you may have a problem because as I told you, the smallest one is 0.13 millimeters. So if you use bigger instrument, like a number 15K file, you will push apical tissues, vital apical tissue, into the apical 1/3. You condense the vital tissues into the apical 1/3. So it's not good. If the vital tissue is compressed in the apical 1/3, you feel you created a ledge. So if you keep pushing with the instrument, then you will start creating a ledge on the outer wall, like this one. Then you have another problem. So it's better, to use a smaller instrument to negotiate the canal. So if you have an instrument smaller than the smallest diameter in the apical 1/3, you will have no problem inserting the instrument into the apical 1/3 or to the working length, the apical foramen. Okay, so remember, the canal must be wet. to facilitate insertion of the instrument to the working length. If not, if it's dry, it's not good because you can easily compress vital tissues into the apical 1/3. So there are many kinds of instruments. I can just tell you, use small diameter instrument. But if you use a small hand nickel titanium instrument, that's too flexible. So I just want to recommend you use, nickel titanium rotary instrument, a small one actually, like a 10-05 or 15-03, this kind of instrument. Because of the taper, taper gives more support to the instrument. So if you use an instrument with number 10 or 2 taper, it's too flexible. So I want to recommend you use an instrument with a taper, small diameter with a little bit bigger taper, 05 or 3, more than 02. Okay, so this is my recommendations. And this is also good. My favorite is this 10-04. But as you can see, this is a nickel titanium instrument. So if you want to use a rotary nickel titanium instrument, you must have taper. O2, this is too narrow, it's too flexible. So you have to be careful. If you don't want to break it, you have to increase the speed. 1000 RPM. If you want to spin it at 1000 RPM around the curve, you may separate the instrument. So you have to increase the speed to prevent the separation of the instrument if you want to use number 10 or 2 taper instrument. So that's why I want to use this one. Or you can use a small rotary instrument with a bigger taper, 03 or 05. And also the tip design is very, very influential in ledge formation or instrument fracture. There are 3 types of the tip design. One is pyramid, the second one is conical, the third one is biconical. And as you can see, the pyramid is the most aggressive. The biconical tip is the least aggressive. So it's better to use an instrument with a biconical tip. So let me show you an example. So here, this is actually TF. Here, yes. Oh. Sorry. So this is TF. Okay. So sorry, you didn't see this. So I'm creating a kind of ledge on the outer wall here. So if you keep rotating the file, you can easily create a ledge right here. Oh, sorry. What's going on? Can you see it? Hello? Okay, can you see me?
Yes, only you can see.
Oh, okay. I may have problems, sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see me? Do you see my slide? Anybody tell me? Okay. Hello?
Only we can see you.
Okay. I have problem. Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh, good, good, good. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry about disturbance. Anyway, so there are three types of the tip design, and I recommend you use an instrument with a biconical tip. So it's safer. You don't, you want to prevent the ledge formation. That's why. So if you use an instrument with a pyramid tip like this, it's difficult to get over irregularities on the canal wall. But if you have an instrument going down the root canal, and if you have irregularities, you can easily get over the irregularities to reach the working length, like this. So I really, recommend you use an instrument with a biconical tip. So let's talk about glide path creation on irregularities. Remember, you need pre-curved tip to get over the irregularities like this. If you use a straight, instrument, you cannot get over the irregularities. So it's important to pre-curve the tip, the apical 1 to 2 millimeter portion. Okay, very important. So let me show you a video here. So do you see the video? Okay. So let me go back. So you can see the ledge here. As you can see the ledge here. So if you use a straight tip, it's difficult to go into the original canal. Do you see the video? Oh, here. There. Okay. There is a time lag. But if you pre-curve the instrument, you can easily get into the original canal. Use up and down motion, up and down, up and down. So this is how you manually manually create a glide path. You have to pre-curve the small instrument, especially around the curve. This is what I do. So here, and this study shows greater taper and large apical diameter. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the video, still video. Oh, this is strange. I want to show you the slide. Okay, let me shut down. Let me shut down the video. Again. Okay, now I'm back. So this study shows larger preparation size or greater taper preparation removes more debris. So again, what I'm looking at, the same. Oh, okay, I'm back.
Yes.
So there's a time difference between what I'm talking and what you are getting.
Yes.
Okay. So again, this study shows greater taper preparation requires more dentin removal than larger apical size and has a risk of transportation and perforations. So in order to clean and shape the canal, you need either large preparation size or greater taper preparation. But if you create a taper, great taper, you may have to remove lots of dentin. But if you just increase the size, apical size, which is more conservative in dentin removal. So you want to use large diameter instrument with a small taper. So my preference is number 4004 instrument or number 3504 instrument to prepare the canal compared to an instrument with a great taper, like a 10%, which is too aggressive. I want to go to the next slide, but it doesn't want to go to the next slide. I don't know what's happening. I'm not doing anything. Okay, sorry. Okay, now this is the next slide. And this study shows, Chen has many studies, and she showed the higher, AF temperature. AF means austenite finish temperature. The higher the cyclic resistance. Instrument in the range between austenite start temperature and austenite finish temperature shows a higher cyclic resistance. So it's better to use an instrument, below AF temperature, austenite finish temperature, because it stays flexible. If you use an instrument above austenite finish temperature, instrument gets less flexible. So that becomes susceptible to breakage. So always use an instrument below AF temperature, austenite finish temperature. That's what they found out. And also this study shows the same thing. All the instruments are more susceptible to fracture at body temperature, 37 centigrades, than the room temperature, 20 degrees. So if you increase the temperature, then the instrument becomes susceptible to fracture. And also this study shows the same thing. So you have to compromise cutting efficiency if you want to be more resistant to the fracturing the instrument. But if you use more flexible instrument, you will lose the cutting efficiency. The more flexible the instrument becomes, more resistant to cyclic fatigue, but less efficient in cutting. That's what they found out. So if you have a crazy curvature to shape, I would definitely use flexible instrument, but it takes more time. You need to expect what will happen next if you use a flexible instrument. It's better to take more time than separate the instrument. So most of the rotary instrument, about 70%, fractured because of cyclic fatigue failure, whereas 91% of nickel titanium hand instrument fractured as a result of torsional fatigue failure. So this means you need to be careful mainly of cyclic fatigue when you want to use rotary instruments. So whenever you use a rotary instrument, you have to be careful of cyclic fatigue because you have chance of, you have 70% of chance of fracture. And this study, 2020 in January, showed higher speed, like rotating the XP endo shaper at 3000 RPM without a glide path appears to be more efficient than 1000 RPM to prepare curved canals in vitro. So this is very good, but this is why you need to increase the speed to reduce torsional fatigue. If you use a small instrument and if you don't want to separate the instrument, you have to reduce the speed. So let me show you a video here. So 2000 RPM, I'm going to use an XP Endoshaper for an S-shaped canal. As you can see, S-shaped. I didn't create a glide path. So I just jump into the canal without a glide path, rotating the instrument at 2000 RPM, up and down, up and down. I'm here. You don't see the instrument? Okay. Let me go back. Okay, sorry, let me go back. So again, 2000 RPM with an XP Endoshaper. I didn't create a glide path. I will just jump in the canal with an XP Endoshaper, rotating 2000 RPM. Okay. So it's rotating at 2000 RPM. I'm here, and I'm almost reaching the working length. Up and down, up and down. I'm here, I'm almost at the apex. Now I reach the apex. So as I showed you again, here, sorry. Okay, as I showed you, if you want to use a small instrument around the curve, you have to increase the speed to prevent the separation of the instrument. So again, and another consideration is this. Martensitic form of nickel titanium instrument has remarkable cyclic fatigue resistance. The crack growth in martensite is slower than austenite. So if you want to prevent the fracture, you need to use martensitic form of nickel titanium instrument. In other words, you need to use martensitic phased nickel titanium instrument. Remember, keep in mind, you need to use the instrument below the austenite finish temperature, so you can maintain the flexibility of the instrument. And this study showed also the crack propagation here is much faster with conventional nickel titanium instrument than controlled memory nickel titanium instrument. So as you can see, if you have a crack, only one crack, it will, propagate much faster. So without symptoms, you will fracture the instrument. But when it comes to the CM instrument, you have several cracks, but it will propagate very slowly. So you can see the deformation, or you can even see the cracks created on the instrument surface under the microscope. Then you can discard the instrument. So actually, because of this, CM instrument showed more cyclic fatigue resistance than conventional nickel titanium instrument. The fatigue life of CM instrument is longer in liquid media than in air. So as you can see, if you have EDTA, you can extend the life of the nickel titanium instrument. So always use an instrument in the presence of media, especially EDTA. So again, another option to prevent instrument fracture is to use a small core diameter instrument. okay, to instrument the canal with a severe curvature. In this study, they used 3 kinds of the instrument. One has a convex triangle cross section. The second one is triangle cross section. The third one is triple U-shaped cross section. And they found the maximum bending stress of the rotary instrument was observed in the apical 1/3 of the convex triangular design, whereas comparatively less stress was recorded in the triple U design. So the triple U design instrument showed the least bending stress on a 45-degree angulated simulated root canal. So you need to use, if you don't want to break an instrument, use an instrument with a triangular or triple U shape cross section. So this is what they are telling. So actually, these are my recommended instrument for safe instrumentation. You can use the XP Endo Shaper to instrument the canal because it has only 1% taper. So it's very good, especially around the curve. Or you can use martensitic phased instrument, high flex CM or high flex EDM. Or you can use, if you don't spend money on instrument, you can use cheaper one, like H endo instrument, H taper or H something. These are martensitic phased instrument. Or you can use Pro Taper Gold, which are also martensitic phased at body temperature. So these are my recommended instrument for safe instrumentation. Now, let's talk about instrument techniques. So if you have 2 canals, especially in the mandibular molar, if you have 2 root canals merging into 1 canal in the apical 1/3, which one should I start with? So 2 canals. Usually, if you look at the CBCT images here, 1 canal has 2 curves, whereas the other canal has 3 curves with more curvatures. So start with the easy one first. Because if you go both like this, if you go down in both canals, you may have problem. You may fracture the instrument in this root canal with more curvature here. So because these 2 canals merge into 1 canal in the apical 1/3, like this, you don't have to shape the other canal to the working length. You can stop here, right here, before the merging into 1 canal here. So you can just connect this canal with the easy one here. So this is your strategy to safely instrument the canal. 1 canal is always easier than the other canal. So this is one of my cases from my practice. So this is a retreatment case. As you can see, you see an apical region here. 1 canal joins together with the other canal. So if you look at this canal, it goes to the other canal at right angle, 90 degrees. So it's almost impossible to go to the working length from this canal. So this is my strategy. I instrumented this canal, then I go down here to reach the joint here. So this is the post-op. As you can see, I was very successful because I didn't instrument this canal to the working length. So if you want to negotiate the canal with a K-file, hand K-file, this is what you have to do. Start with a small diameter instrument, 08 or 10. Go down to the working length, use up and down motion. Do not turn it because you will easily deform the instrument. Then you can switch to the bigger instrument, number 15K file. If you have problem going down to the working length, then go back to the number 10K file. Use up and down motion 50 times around the working length to widen the canal. Or you can flare the corona 1/3 to facilitate the placement of the bigger instrument to the working length. So this is what you have to do to manage the curvature with a small instrument for negotiation. And you can, if you want to use a rotary negotiation, you have to use the TCA technique. It's a long story, but to make it short, you have to go down with a rotary instrument to feel resistance. Do not go down rotating the instrument. You just place an instrument into the canal and you hit the wall, then rotate the instrument, then get out. This is the TCA technique, tactile controlled activation. So if you keep doing this, then if you have a crazy curvature, you can go down to the working length without separating the instrument. So let me show you a video here. I know you don't see the video. So here. So go down, up and down, up and down. If you feel resistance, rotate the instrument and get out like this. So if you keep doing this, this is a 90-degree curvature. You can reach the working length without separating the instrument. So I'm almost there. It takes time. Don't expect you finish the preparation in a few seconds. Because TCA techniques, lots of time. But you can safely instrument the canal without a problem. Okay. But if you don't do this, like if you keep rotating the instrument like this, you will easily fracture the instrument. You see the deformation here already. Now it was separated. So remember, don't keep rotating the instrument. You will fracture the instrument due to the torsional fatigue, not cyclic fatigue, especially if you use an instrument, very flexible instrument below austenite finish temperature. Okay, but if you do the technique sorry. I don't know what's going on here. So this is, again, TCA techniques, up and down, up and down. So this is 2005. So after the glide path creation, you have to shape the canal. This is the shaping instrument. So I'm still using the TCA technique to instrument the canal for the 90-degree curvature, up and down, up and down. Okay, it's already 9, almost 9:10. I'm sorry. I have 5 or 6 slides to show you. So again, you need to use the TCA technique to safely instrument the canal with severe curvature like this. Always use the TCA technique to safely instrument the crazy curvature. So this is my favorite. If you want to use hand instrument, this is my favorite, ProTaper S1. You need to use the hand instrument. This is hand ProTaper S1 instrument because it has a biconical tip. If you use it with a TCA technique, or maybe if you use it or balance force technique, you can reach the working length without separating the instrument. But it takes lots of time. If you want to go faster, I really recommend you use flexible rotary instrument like a HyFlex EDM with a TCA technique. It's much, much faster. So again, motion and methods of use are also very important in making negotiation easier while preventing iatrogenic errors. So reciprocation reduce both torsional stress and cyclic fatigue of instrument, especially with greater tapers. So let me show you why reciprocating motion is good to reduce the cyclic fatigue or torsional fatigue. Oh, sorry, you don't see this. So let me go back. So I'm going to reciprocate the instrument 360 clockwise and, sorry, let me go back. So I'm going to reciprocate the instrument 660 degrees clockwise and 30 degrees counterclockwise with a martensitic phased instrument. So it's very flexible. So like this, you have to use an up and down motion, an up and down, up and down. Then you will reach the working length. So as you can see, reciprocating motion is easier and safer. Okay. Also, you can delay the instrument fracture from torsional fatigue if you use it reciprocating motion. Okay, so let me show you. I'm sorry. Let me skip this one. And also, you can reduce cyclic fatigue with a reciprocating motion. So if you, sorry, oh. So I'm creating a cyclic fatigue. As you can see, the instrument will fracture very soon because of the cyclic fatigue. So it took 42 seconds before the fracture. But if you use reciprocating motions, so if you use a reciprocating motion like this, so it's reciprocating actually 180 degrees clockwise and 90 degrees counterclockwise. After more than 1 minute, almost 90 seconds, the instrument didn't break. if you remember the previous instrument that fractured after 40 seconds, this instrument survived more than 2 minutes. So you can prevent instrument separation with the reciprocating motions. So this is my recommendation, because AI motor from Woodpecker has everything in it. It has clockwise motion, counterclockwise motion from 100 RPM to 2000 RPM. It has automatic reciprocating motion. It has just reciprocating motion, fixed reciprocating motion, 370 degrees clockwise to 360 degrees counterclockwise. It has watch winding motion, and it has electric apex locator built in. So this is very good. This is my recommendation. And you can use it for many kinds of situations. And the resistance, this is another story. Resistance of nickel titanium instrument in the presence of EDTA solution was attributed to the ability of EDTA to form the passive film on the metal surface. Okay, so if you use an instrument, if you want to rotate the instrument in the canal, you need EDTA to reduce the chances of instrument separation. This is what they found. Immersion in 5% sodium hypochlorite at a higher temperature, 37 degrees or maybe 50 degrees for 5 minutes did not significantly reduce the cyclic fatigue resistance of conventional nickel titanium instrument. So if you use it, if you use an instrument only 5 minutes in the presence of sodium hypochlorite, you are okay, you are still okay. You don't lose any cyclic fatigue resistance. But it's better to use EDTA to increase more, increase the resistance to fracture. And if you have a crazy curvature, and if you are approaching the crazy curvature, slow down. You have to slow down. If you go faster, then you are, subjected to create a ledge on the outer wall. Just like if you go, speeding around the curve in your car, you will, go out of the course. So let me show you what I mean. So this guy is over speeding. So that's why he cannot go around the curve. The same thing is happening to your instrument. If you go in a high speed, you will not make it. So you have to slow down. Okay, very important. So this is 1000 RPM. 1000 RPM. This is too fast. Now 500 RPM. It's still too fast. Now 300 RPM. Let's see. It's still too fast to go into the original canal. So if you slow down to 100 RPM, let's see what will happen. So if you go slowly, approaching the curve, now you can get into the original canal. So remember, if you approach the crazy curvature, slow down and rotate the file at slow speed, like 100 RPM. Approach the curve at the slow speed. Rotate the file at the slow speed, 100 RPM or slower. Then you can clear the curve. So now this is the instrumentation with flexible instrument. So, use TCA technique, always TCA technique for crazy curvature to prevent instrument fracture. Then you can move on to the bigger instrument with the same TCA technique. So this, or you can use the reciprocating motion, 360 degrees clockwise and 30 degrees counterclockwise at 500 RPM. And you will have the same result. So let me show you 3 cases from my practice. So you see the crazy curvature, I negotiated the canals with a number 10 K file and created a glide path with a 10 and 15 K files. Then I use the actually the reciprocating motion with the 2506 instrument. Then I did the same for the Mezio Ringo canal and the Mezio Bacco canal. And this is a post-op, and 3 months and 1 year, showing nice periapical healing. Another case, here, this is a retreatment case. As you can see, you have a lateral canal. The CBCT here shows lateral canal. So, and you see the curvature here, more than 40 degrees. So I use the TCA technique, and I'm sorry, I didn't use the TCA technique in this case. I use the Expiendo shaper rotating 2000 RPM to reach the working length. And this is a post-op. Of course, I ovulated the canals with MTA. Here, you see the lateral canal filled with MTA. And this is a 3 months post-op, and this is a 3 months post-op CBCT images showing nice periapical healing here compared to the pre-op radiographs and the CBCT images. And the third case is this. This is a retreatment case. You see the ledge created on the outer wall. I can see the empty root canal. I don't think it's empty, but it has necrotic pulp tissues. That's why you see apical lesions. Okay, so I use reciprocating motion because I wanted to be in the original canal, because you can see the ledge here. I wanted to be in here in the original canal, so I go slowly into the canal, rotating the instrument at 100 RPM, reciprocating motion. Okay, then I reach the working length here. You see the lateral canal here, and I ovulated the canals with MTA, including the lateral canal here and here. And this is 5 months post-op showing nice periapical healing compared to the pre-op radiograph and the pre-op CBCT images here. And this is an advertisement. If the smoke clears, I'm going to have a 2-day lecture in Tokyo, November 30th and December 1st. You are welcome to come to Tokyo. Thank you very much for your attention. Then I will take questions. Hello. So I'm going to take questions, maybe. I don't know. Hello. So if you have questions, I'm going to take some questions. So these, I received many questions. Actually, there are 32 questions. And I received the question, does a high flex instrument work well with the apex locator function on the AI motor? Yes, it does. How do you remove garapacha in retreatment? I use